What if METAGROSS was in Gen 1 OU? We all know METAGROSS, Steven's ace Pokemon, one of the two pseudo-legendaries of Generation 3, and he was amazing in the first two generations he was in. He was good in Gen 5, he had a Mega, but like, regular METAGROSS just sort of dropped off, which I think is incredibly weird. I'm not exactly sure how a Pokemon like METAGROSS could get power creeped, but then again, I didn't think Garchomp, Tyranitar, Heatran, or Landorus Therian would get power creep either. But yeah, here we are. We live in a really weird world, or a weird timeline that we're in right now. But enough about what's happening in the present. Let's go back to the past. What if METAGROSS was in the first generation, where Psychic and Normal types were dominant, and there wasn't a single Steel type? Yeah, well, spoiler alert, he'd be really good. Chances are, he'd even be good for reasons you haven't even thought of. Like, obviously these stats are amazing. 135 attack, that's more than Rhydon. 130 defense is insane, might not even be needed, because he's mainly resisting just normal attacks, which even with just 100 defense, he would eat that up easily. But he has a huge defense stat, and with a pretty good HP stat as well. And his speed, base 70, is the exact same speed as Cloyster. Now granted, you do wish you were a little faster, just so that you wouldn't, have to worry about Clamp Lock. With it being 70, it's a speed tie. So, you wish it was more, but at the same time, it's at least enough to where you can easily put up a fight with Cloyster. And finally, that special. I did not realize METAGROSS had such a high special. Like, for such a physical Pokemon, both in defense and offense, its defenses are also pretty good. That's not even higher than Tauros. Base 95 special attack? That's deadass just the same as Jinx. Like, I believe, or no, not Jinx, 95. What Pokemon was it? I know there was a Pokemon with base 95 special. Or maybe I am thinking about Jinx? Yeah, I am thinking about Jinx. Yeah, it did have 95 special in Generation 1. I was confused about a bit. But yeah. METAGROSS. Like, it's just insane. He has by far the best typing in the game. And then he just has everything he could ever want. Just enough speed to where it's not a problem for him. Overwhelming physical attack and bulk. And good special as well. It's insane. He has everything he could ever want. And even his move pool is, even without steel moves, even without Bullet Punch or Meteor Mash, his move pool is amazing. Agility, which again can already take care of the speed problem, if it's a problem in the first place, which you're probably using agility anyways, as just like with Generation 3 OU, you can use it to just clean up games. Body Slam, always reliable. Double Edge, if you just want a more powerful move as like a finisher, I can definitely see you using this. Earthquake, it will probably be its most consistent physical move, I would imagine. Good for hitting Gengar, could maybe hit Rhydon, but also it's just more consistent. Does more damage than Body Slam, and since you're probably using METAGROSS as a late game cleaner anyways, you probably don't need the 30% paralysis chance on Body Slam that much in the first place. And Explosion. Oh my gosh, Explosion on a base 135 Pokemon? I do not need to explain to you that this is... I haven't done the calc, but I'm assuming this does more damage than even Snorlax's self-destruct. But if I'm wrong, I apologize, you can let me know in the comments. But yeah, you gotta stay clear of this. This can one-shot pretty much everything in Gen 1 OU. There's like no question about it. It's a true force to be reckoned with. Even on the special side, he has Ice Punch. If you go down here, he has Thunder Punch. So along with this amazing, just, physical attack, he has Bolt Beam coverage. Why does METAGROSS need Bolt Beam coverage? He has Reflect, he has Light Screen, he can be even more bulky. Obviously, he has Rest and Stab Psychic. Stab Psychic that hits as hard as Jinx? That's insane! He even has Rock Slide. So you have the other universal coverage in Generation 1 with Rock and Ground. It's amazing. He has Substitute, which honestly, he probably could take a few Psychics with Substitute. So even this isn't like completely absurd. Toxic, if you just want to be annoying. You even have, well, obviously you have Hyper Beam. And Hyper Beam, I don't think it's a guaranteed, surprisingly. I feel like you would rather have a more consistent physical move like Earthquake, but I could be wrong, it depends on the set. Self-Destruct doesn't really matter. But yeah, like, he has like Takedown and Swift, but that doesn't really matter. But along with having the perfect stats, the perfect typing, he has every single move he could ever want. So, I never thought I would say this for Metagross. I knew it would be good. There was no question about that. But now I'm honestly leaning towards Metagross. Metagross might just be the best Pokemon I have covered on this series, not counting like the Uber's legendaries. At least I think so? Like, I do have a lot of other videos. So I know like, I'm pretty sure like Metagross would be the best one. You guys let me know in the comments, obviously. I'm trying to think about what I've gone over that can even like come close to this. Like, yeah, you have Breloom with like his like Spore, but like that's just a single move. I don't think it'd be as broken. I don't think Ursaluna will be as broken either, because Ursaluna does have to worry about some pretty bad weaknesses. Okay, Pheromosa might be one more broken. But I think Pheromosa is just more, I think more degenerate than it is like better. But it's hard to say. You guys can just let me know what you think. But I definitely think that Metagross, easily, worst case scenario, in a top 5 of the best Pokemon I've ever gone over. Not counting, like, again, the Ubers like Calric Shadow or Arceus. But even then, I honestly feel like Metagross might have a better place in Gen 1 Ubers than Arceus. But it might be going a little too far. Let's just go into the replays, and we do have a good amount of them. Starting off, we always gotta go with the boy, and Earthquake, it does about as much as you expect. Fire Blast does more, and I do feel like Fire Blast Tauros might become more common with Metagross in the format, which I'm still gonna say that the matchup is probably could go either way, because Tauros could crit with or without Fire Blast. Tauros can also get a burn with Fire Blast, so it's not one-sided. But this might be a little concerning, where Explosion can just OHKO Tauros. Yeah, that's a problem. Like, as long as Gengar's out, and even if Gengar isn't taken out, obviously Metagross can easily take it with just Earthquake or Psychic. So once like Metagross gets a agility off, there's no Protect. So you're most likely, you just already have a guaranteed KO just by doing that. I just can't think of anything that can really stop it. Even like a Reflect Snorlax, there's not much it can really do. Because Metagross can just, he's just by far the best mixed attacker in the game. Nothing else comes close. So, like, what do you even do here? Like, yeah, Earthquake did a pretty good amount there, but Metagross can just outspeed you, and then he can just kill you with special drops, or he can just OHKO you with Psychic. Or not Psychic, I mean Explosion, let's be real here. Still, it's not like a completely one-sided matchup, but Snorlax definitely struggles. But not as bad as Chansey. Like, what does Chansey really do here? Like, paralyze it just for Metagross to use agility? Does nothing really. Maybe hope for a freeze chance, but obviously you're just wasting your chance if you do that. And also, I'll just say this now. I don't even think Metagross even cares so much about being put to sleep, because of how bulky he is. Like, both because of its typing, because, let's be real here, a Steel and Psychic type, you resist normal, you have a quadruple resistance to Psychic, so even Psychic drops, you just don't really care about. And then what else is there? Like, sure, there's like electric moves and like Zapdos, but you can just have a partner like Rhydon for that. Ground moves could be annoying, but you can easily take care of that with any grass or flying types. So, Metagross has nothing it really fears for the most part. Speaking of what I say about, Psychic drops, even if like Alakazam gets like really lucky, so for like this replay, I actually went and gave the Alakazam Serene Grace, so that every single time he's a Psychic, it's basically guaranteed. And look at that. That was with 3 special drops. I know Alakazam got a crit, but I don't think that really mattered. With all those special drops, it barely, brought Metagross to half health. So, what does, Alakazam or Jinx, what do they do to Metagross? Nothing! There's nothing they can do. And then Cloyster has a, speed tie. So, it's I guess it's an even matchup. But even then, Metagross has higher special. Thunder Punch is super effective. And it might not even need that. I didn't do another replay, but there's a good chance that even Psychic can, on its own, can do just as much as Thunder Punch. As you saw there, a crit can definitely do the job. So, it's not the worst thing ever. But it's not consistent. Not consistent at all. And also, I was just curious to see Ice Punch and Body Slam do around the same. However, it seems like Ice Punch consistently does a little bit more damage. So probably better. But also that's Body Slam, not Double Edge or Hyper Beam. So I'm not really sure. With the moveset, probably depends on how good the Executor matchup is. But on the other hand, even if you only have let's say Thunder Punch and Psychic, along with Agility and Explosion, there's not much Executor can really do to you. Because once again, you quad resist Psychic. And then with that Alakazam one, I specifically gave it Serene Grace, so that every single time it got a special drop, it was basically guaranteed. You're not gonna have that in a normal game. So even if Metagross had moves that can just not hurt Executor, I would still argue that Metagross has a great matchup against Executor no matter what. It's just nothing Executor can do other than just Leech Seed exactly. Not even Explosion, Rhydon, or not Rhydon, Metagross really cares about. Speaking of Rhydon, as you see here, to my surprise, Ice Punch isn't a guaranteed 2-hit KO, and I seriously doubt Earthquake does more damage. So, theoretically, Rhydon could win the 1v1, but that's assuming he's at 100% full health, and Metagross doesn't get a crit or potential damage ranges. It's still good that Ice Punch isn't a guaranteed 3-hit KO, especially since, in the first place, Ice Punch isn't a guaranteed moveset on Metagross. If I had to guess, the most common and probably best set would be Agility, Explosion, Psychic, and then Earthquake. And I imagine even Psychic would do a pretty good amount to Rhydon. But still, at least there's some opposition from Metagross, I guess. Speaking of which, Swelbro can do a decent job. He's very physically bulky. Obviously with Amnesia Boost, he can eliminate Thunder Punch as a threat. Surf, even with just one Amnesia, does a lot of damage. So Metagross kinda has to explode in a 1v1 with Swelbro. So, even though Metagross is obviously taking the Swelbro out, I would argue that being forced in a situation where you have to explode would kinda count as it being a bad matchup. But you can be the judge now in the comments. Probably should have tried going for Hypnosis instead. However, I feel like the outcome is basically the same either way. I don't know what does more damage between Earthquake and Psychic, but I really feel like Gengar doesn't really want to risk it in the first place. Metagross just hits too hard on the physical and special side, so why would you take out Gengar just to miss Hypnosis? It's just not worth it. Okay, waiting would have been... And this Pokemon isn't in OU, but I decided it should be worth showing, because I feel like Metagross in the format would heavily popularized Moltres. Enough for OU? I'm not too sure, because it's just one Pokemon exactly you're trying to use it for. But at the same time, Moltres already does have some use in OU. So maybe it could be enough to make it OU? I'm not sure. And you guys let me know what you think about. I do think Moltres is the only Pokemon, the only fire Pokemon with a chance though. Not any of the others, not even like Charizard. This isn't going to be like Generation 3 unfortunately. So very sad indeed. And last but not least, I decided to go with Zapdos. Probably should have used Rock Slide or Ice Punch instead. But I feel like this is probably the better one. Where like Metagross has Psychic, Earthquake, but like no like Rail move to really hurt Zapdos. And obviously with this moveset, Zapdos can, you know, just do a lot of damage to Metagross. But I feel like it would actually be a bad matchup either way. Because Zapdos has pretty high special. So Ice Punch probably wouldn't do that much more. And at the same time, I feel like Rock Slide you're just not using on Metagross no matter what. It's just a wasted move. And definitely not worth it just for Zapdos or Moltres. But you guys let me know what you think about that. And here's the tier list. Yeah, like, he's definitely really, really good. There's no question about it. That Metagross would be dominant. In fact, I'd even argue he would probably get banned to Ubers. And even in Ubers, I would call that he would probably be the third best Pokemon in the format. Because, like, Steel Psychic, amazing. And, like, think about Mewtwo's main moves in Generation 1 Ubers. Psychic, Ice Beam, Thunderbolt. We've already seen how Psychic does against Metagross. So wasting a Psychic just for Metagross to go and use Explosion, waste of time, you're wasting your Mewtwo. Ice Beam, Metagross resists, even with Amnesias, not a big deal. So that leaves exactly just Thunderbolt. And even with Thunderbolt Mewtwo, like, you're gonna need at least like 1 or 2 Amnesias just to actually threaten to kill the Metagross. Which means it can just use Explosion. Not to mention that it helps Executor a lot more if like the Thunderbolt Mewtwo set is more common than Ice Beam. So, definitely not what I was expecting today. I would not have expected Metagross to be this fantastic. But maybe I should have seen this coming. Who knows? But what do you think? Do you think Metagross would be an exceptional Pokemon in Generation 1? Do you think he would be banned? Do you think I'm overselling it? And do you think some of these other guys can do a better job taking him on? And what would you like to see next? I highly recommend joining my Discord server. Because in my Discord server, like, not only do you get to see me like actually post these replays, you can look at them for yourself if like you feel like I went through them too fast here. And you can just chat with me and other fans about like some potential Pokemon. In my server, a lot of people have been talking about Weirdeer, so that might be one of my next future videos because how much people have been looking into it so much. But it's up to you. Even if you don't care that much about like Pokemon, well, first of all, while you're watching this, and two, we do a lot of other like fun stuff too. We have VCs. We like to play like games with each other occasionally, like Jackbox, Mario Kart, or Among Us. So be sure to drop by. I'd love to have you there. But until next time, this is Grandback, and I look forward to hearing from you.